thank you so much for hanging out here. This is really cool for me.
It's always fun for me to talk games. So for me as well.
I want to get something out of the way before we do anything here. I do have a Black Lotus tattooed on my hand, so I am a bit of a nerd. I'm just going to get that out of the way, okay?
Acknowledged.
Acknowledged, okay. The only reason I even got to go to college was because I won a bunch of Junior Super Series Magic tournaments back in the 90s. When they gave away scholarships for them. Yeah.
That was a good program. I like that one.
It was amazing for me. I was in the Southeast region, and so, man, there were times where I rolled up to tournaments and there'd be like 7 kids there, and none of them had like a meta deck. I would just roll up and collect my $2,500 check, and it was a great system. I loved that.
I went to a bunch of them, and they were always fun to go.
Are you a big fan of RNG in games?
I am.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Me too.
I like, my favorite games are games where there's a lot of randomness, but skill will give you an advantage. So I love poker, for example.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind actually games that are crazy and just fun to watch as well. Gibbering Malice is a wild unit, attacks friends and foes. So I put it up there and didn't put anybody else there because I just wanted to mess up whatever you put there. So it's very powerful, but attacks me as well.
How different is it working on like a video game versus a physical game, or do you kind of go into it with the same like gameplay mentality?
It's very different working on them. I do go in with a similar sort of philosophy, but the way I go about it is very different. Because with a paper game, I prototype a lot and experiment around a lot. With a digital game, you really have to do a lot more thinking up front.
Is there a mechanic like in Magic that you thought was easy that people ended up not understanding?
Oh yeah, sure. Banding was exactly my first example of one where I really thought it was pretty conceptually easy, but it just turned out to be very hard. A lot of fun at this stage in a game coming up with new powers. Some of the ones that I've come up recently with, I've got a unit where if it's deployed to a room without any enemies in it, you capture immediately. And that's really interesting to play with, because your opponent, if they know that you've got that, they want to spread out more to try to catch them. And if you've got it, you don't want to take the big rooms because you know you're not going to capture those immediately, but more of the obscure rooms. Oh, and there's a Lich. The Lich spawns a soul jar, and will keep on respawning unless you kill the soul jar.
All right, I gotta use my chat for some questions. They have been begging to ask me a few questions here. The first one that they want to know the biggest one that everyone's talking about. There's a lot of Artifact fans in my chat, and they want to know what you think went wrong with Artifact. I'm sorry in advance for that one.
No, that's fine. It's something I've thought a lot about. I think it was a community management problem. If you develop a game too long in a closet, you can end up in a place that isn't ideal for the public. This ties into the community management stuff, where there should have been more collaboration with the public about where to stick power levels of things and the costs. It's very difficult making a game with a different revenue model, and even if you have the best of intentions, there's a lot of things which can set people off as well. And it doesn't help that Valve is very much of the philosophy that the community should basically take care of themselves. They didn't want to mediate that at all. Our intent was to make not a free game, and the reason for that is because you need to make money on the games, and we hated this thing about the sort of design decisions which you're often pushed towards on games where they're free, where you've got to make this either make people grind or log in every day, things like that. So we wanted to make it so that there was a charge that wasn't exorbitant. But automatically, once you make it not free, then you've got problems.
There's a different wall.
then the other thing was we wanted to make it so that you could trade your deck. You actually owned it, and because that's something in Magic which people really like, is the fact that that they can, that there's an economy for the cards, which is outside.
Yeah.
And so we did a lot of like calculations for in Hearthstone. If you wanted to be a top level player, you'd have to end up spending way less than you did in
Artifact.
Artifact. Something like a quarter of the amount. But we sort of got into a place where perceptually it was the worst of both worlds, because in Hearthstone you can play for free, which you couldn't in Artifact. And then anyway.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's really a really good, insightful answer to that too, because it's a complicated thing, but like that's really.
Yeah, and everything I've said isn't intended to disparage
No.
Valve. They are my partners, and they listened to me, which means that I am equally culpable in any bad, anything that went bad with it, I was involved with. So I claim partial credit for its failure, certainly.
Hey.
Even if I don't think that that it stemmed from the game design.
If you want credit for the W's, you got to take credit on the L's sometimes, right?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. No, and in the end, I'm very happy with the design itself.
What is this one?
Would have been more interesting that if it came up earlier, but this is the weak cairn. There's weak cairns, and then there's big cairns, and whoever controls it gets a permanent buff to their power and toughness. Yeah, this game uses decks similar to Keyforge, where everybody's deck is unique. So nobody has ever played your mix of cards. It belongs to your account. The intent there is that you learn what the strengths and weaknesses for your deck are, and what the weaknesses of your opponent are, and you try to exploit them.
All right, I gotta go back to a Magic question. I'm sorry, I don't mean to distract this. But like, when did you realize that? Like the Moxes and the Black Lotus were just incredibly way too powerful, and you could never print those again. Like, was the game out, or was that before the game came out? I have to know that. As someone that was around during that time, like, when did that happen?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we did know before the game was printed.
Okay.
But what we did was I expected the game to be something where people purchase between 1 and say 4 decks, and so we calculated the maximum number of these things floating around a community of 8 to 10 people, and it wasn't big enough to really worry about. Oh wow! You caught up.
Oh wow!
Oh my gosh!
Oh my gosh! We were 1 point away, chat.
Yeah, I never am good enough at my own games. So I can't believe I lost my advantage. We knew that they wouldn't, that you could make broken decks with them. But the thing was, we also knew that you could make broken decks with, lightning bolts. If you put 20 lightning bolts in a deck with 20 mountains, you had a game that was dull to play and pretty strong. And so we expected the community to decide what was fun to play, and so people would make lightning bolt decks, and they'd have some fun with it, but then they'd go on to something else. And that process we thought was fun for the players. It was fun for the play testers. Mm-hmm. When the game first came out, it is really quite surprising how long it took people to catch on to how good those cards were. So, for example, there was in the first year there was a draft which was done in New York, so it was in the winter. And I remember it was not a booster draft. It was a I don't know, what do they call it?
Sealed deck, sealed deck, or like, yeah.
No, it was a draft. You open up all the cards. Yeah, but you take turns picking. It was like a fantasy football.
Yeah.
And there was a Black Lotus that sat on the table for the entire time. And the reason is because players at that time thought they'd rather have a land, because a land gives you mana permanently. A Black Lotus gives you land, it gives you mana once. And so for long-term thinking, it seemed like that was a better deal. And in fact, one of the moderators, I remember when they said it was like one of the people running the game from R&D said, "I can't believe that Lotus sat there so long." And the person helping run the game said, "Yeah, I know, I love Lotus. First turn one, 3 walls of wood, bam, bam, bam." Right? It is a complete lack of understanding of how good those cards were. And the thing is that if we print, there are some things I would change with the original way Magic was made. I would have cleaned up the rules for sure. I would have removed a lot of the cards with micro font, like Raging River just did not pay for itself. But I would not have changed Lotus or Mox or Ancestral Recalls or any of those other cards. And the reason is because I think it just would have been less fun for the people playing in those days. I mean, if the players didn't recognize how good those cards were, will it make the game better for them if they were sort of mana accurate?
Yeah.
And the answer is clearly no. They would have moved from something which they were kind of curious about to something that was utter garbage for them. And so the game is much, much more playable if you tune it to the actual audience rather than. And so yeah, and this ties back to Artifact. We played it for 2 years, and it wasn't tuned for the actual audience. Now, there's a question as to whether we could have tuned it for the actual audience behind the wall. But one of the problems of the game was that it wasn't tuned as much for the broad release, and so yeah. So I think that answers the question.
Oh yeah, it does. You want to play? We're getting another game in, right? Do you have a particular favorite card from those early days?
My favorite card was from Arabian Nights, and it's Scheherazade. And the reason I like it is because it's relentlessly meta. With Scheherazade, you play a sub game. It fits well with it's completely unusable as far as ornaments and such would be concerned because it just takes too long. It's too crazy. But you play a sub game, and whoever wins the sub game gets a bonus in the over game. Oh, well, let's see if this works. So you can see I put my Rangers in the hall again. So they don't have any targets, which means they're going to either go up and help my guys up top or move down. If they split up, that could be bad news for me because your 2 possessed will beat them up. But if they stay together, they could probably handle your possessed because they're going to be a room over. Up top, I've got this Spitting Cobra is my new guy. He's got a range and poisons targets. I don't think you'll be able to take out your hammer in time. That was probably a mistake on my part. But he'll poison the hammer. Yeah, I think this is your deployment. You're going to win this one.
Feeling good about this.
That was a mistake too.
You can always blame it on just going. Wow.
Oh, I see. You know what happened was
the ranger came over.
My poisoner wasn't fast enough, but both my archers decided to go up and help out. It was still your deployment, but I ended up with that 4 room, which I did not expect.
How many games have you scrapped in your life because you like game ideas and you're like, oh, that's just not fun?
Oh, I'd say for every published game, I've got 10 full games which I've scrapped, and probably 100 game starts that I've scrapped.
Oh wow!
I'm not disappointed with that. Oh shoot!
Get over there.
Disappointed with this though. This is
I was
ridiculous.
about to say, get over there too. Oh no! Oh no! Oh man! Do you have buddies come over to your house to be like, "Hey, Richard, what new thing you got for me?"
Oh, certainly back in the day I did. Recently, I've got to. After the pandemic was sequestered a lot, so I've been doing most of my gaming on Tabletop Simulator. Still trying to get my game groups back together.
Man, do I feel that, dude. I've got a lot of unopened board games right now. All right, speaking of meta, I'm sorry to go back to Magic Cushions, but like, do you have a favorite era or meta of Magic? I can give you mine if that helps.
Sure.
I definitely the beginning of Urza's Saga to the end of Urza's Saga era, when that was in, like, I guess they call it standard now, but when that was type 2, I thought that was the most the most fun meta for me personally that I experienced. I thought it was a fast kind of combo game, but had control decks. There was just a lot of different variety in there for me. And when it got back to like creature kind of slow down things, it like dragged for me. Like slivers.
Wasn't that a totally broken environment though? Like wasn't that like a high point for banning cards?
Oh, so many cards were banned. I mean, they were. I mean, you know. Oh God! I mean, just in standard, there were so many cards banned. Eight or nine cards, I think, were banned in the Urza Saga block alone in standard. And then, like, when you get to limited, like, I mean, Yawgmoth's Bargain was banned. You know, that was such a
there was a lot of exciting cards.
I'm
afraid that whole era is it's hard for me to see it levelly though, because there were so many bannings. It was causing such problems. And some of them, some of the cards, there's a certain degree of banning which I expect. Back in the day, we were talking about how to measure how good our developers were, and the first thing that was put forward was if the less banned cards, the better. And I was really worried with that as being the measure for how good our developers were, because it's not that hard to be super conservative in your development, and that would push people towards the super conservative development. And what I wanted was people to take chances, and so having a banned card or two does not bother me, but that was certainly over the top, and the things they should have known. I as a player, I've always been, I've delved into Constructed from time to time, but I've spent most of my effort on drafts, usually often wacky drafts, like I like back drafts. As a spectator, I really like the Necro Summer. The drama around that, where there was a lot of push to ban Necro because that was Necropotent, because all the decks were these Necropotence decks. Yeah. But then we chose to ride it out, and the championships then had the Stasis deck come out of nowhere and win, and it's like there's this interesting thing. Now, it could be that it would have been better for us to ban Necropotence, and maybe the environment's more interesting. I don't know. But that story was interesting, and it's one of the philosophical differences between that goes through a lot of my games, or games in general, I think, is do you give your players the chance to solve problems and force them to solve the problems, or do you solve it as the designer? And this is a particularly slippery slope with digital games. People sort of expect, oh, my strategy didn't work, you've got to do this. And then the thing is, then once they begin to expect that, it means that anytime the game isn't playing how they want, they expect the designers to go in and tweak it. And there's many games where they do go in and tweak it. But then you're sort of sidestepping some of the most exciting things where players think of orthogonal ways to do stuff and overcome problems with creative solutions and discover new metas that they don't bother trying to look for because it's the game's not playing the way they expect it to.
I love that. They want to know future plans for 1.0 in this game. Are there already drafted plans for future support?
Well, there's a lot of it is a lot of the roadmap is open because we don't know what's best for the game without getting some sort of community and what sort of so in particular I love the Keyforge decks where you own your own decks, but there's a lot of problems associated with them, and so we'd have to figure out how those are going to integrate with the way people play.
Man, I find it so interesting that my favorite era of Magic is one of your least favorites. That's so, I don't know, that's so kind of...
Well, I sort of appreciate, the thing is that it was filled with a lot of exciting cards. That goes hand in hand with banning, right?
Yeah.
My perspective on it was, there's banning, we made a lot of mistakes, there's problems there, but I certainly understand the other side of that. There was a lot of really cool looking cards, and cards that were cool. It's just that it was very frustrating. It's like, we've got to ban this card. Okay, and now we got to ban these. Now these are too bad, right?
Yeah.
It was like peeling back layers.
I remember nationals. The year I went to nationals, that I did best, but it was Tangle Wire decks had become like super meta right throughout there. So everything was just built around getting around Tangle Wire after that. But everybody was playing Tangle Wire. Every single deck in the top 8 had Tangle Wire. Like it was like the card at that moment.
Yeah,
and that was like, yeah. Oh, that worked out for me. That worked out for me.
Oh, I thought that was going to be mine. When I don't think you can do this when playing multiplayer, but when you play against the AI, one of the really interesting tools with this game is you can check the stats, which is to say you can rerun the same battle like 100 times and see statistically how it works. And this was so much fun. I've done that on several games, and it's so much fun to play with that I insisted that it be made available for players. And it's very interesting because then sometimes you'll suspect you got unlucky, and you can go back and check and see if you actually got unlucky, or if that was an expected result, and how expected it was.
I really like that.
I do have some difficulty maintaining a conversation and keeping a thread of a strategy, though.
Don't worry. It's literally my job. You know, it is what I have to do day in and day out. Okay. So, okay. No, I actually don't like this. I'd actually rather not fight this. I don't know if this is worth the 1 point here. Do you ever see yourself doing a physical game, or are you kind of focused more on digital games now?
Oh, I'm working on physical games as well.
That first strike is so good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the first strike.
Oh, I finally won a hand by a mere 2 points, but that time I was doing what I should have done earlier, which is spreading out. There's this impulse in the game to group your units.
Yeah.
And it's really good if you group your units and you end up beating in key areas. But the thing is that if you spread out, you get all these victory points, and the impulse comes from I want to win my battles, but that goes against necessarily I want to win the victory points. Congratulations.
I am going to brag about this pretty hard. I'm going to call my old card game shop, the Nexus in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and tell them what I just did. This is a very big deal for us. You know, this is really cool. Outside of Magic, I also play the Star Wars trading card game. You know, Magic, obviously, like I'm literally inked with it for my whole life. It was I couldn't have gone to college without Magic the Gathering existing. Those Super Series wins are really big for me. I could not have paid for school without them, so it's like a really, really cool thing. So you, in a lot of ways, indirectly and kind of directly, like really helped out my life, which is really, really cool. So this has been a big honor for me. When I saw this opportunity, I jumped at it really fast. So it's really cool for me. So I just want to thank you for like taking your time and showing us your game and answering all my silly questions here.
Wow, so it's fun. And it's good to hear that good things happen because of that Junior Super Series program. As I said, I really like that. Thank you for indulging me with Vanguard. The only other thing to plug would be this Final Titans, in particular, if they're interested in sort of crazy RNG games. That one is pretty cool.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I don't want to take any more of your time. I know you're a busy man. Your brain's working on games right now, I'm sure. So anytime you want to play, man, hit me up.
Okay. Well, thanks for the opportunity.
Chat, when I was in college, I sold my Black Lotus for $340. A beta Black Lotus for $340. All right. Was that for beer money? I think it was actually pay rent. I think I spent it to pay rent.